In James Traill Calder's History of Caithness, he noted that it wasn't until 1800 that a bridge was built over the river at Thurso. Before that time, people going to and from the town had to take a ferry over a small cobble. Although the crossing was short, in stormy weather or when the river was in spate, it could still prove dangerous. If the small boat was crowded, which it often was, especially on market days, it was liable to be upset. There are several occasions when this happened, when all on board the little craft were swept to their deaths. In 1749, it's recorded that 17 people lost their lives in this way as they made their way across the river. There are also instances of when people tried to ford the river following heavy rain and when the tide was in. In 1756, Richard Sinclair, a Thurso merchant, was drowned while he attempted to cross. The strange thing about this incident, however, was that it had been foreshadowed by what is known as the second sight. The story is told in an old book called A Treatise on the Second Sight, first published in 1763. Sinclair had been returning home late at night with his servant. When they reached the river close to the town, they found its level had risen considerably due to the heavy rainfall over the previous day or two. This was compounded by the fact the tide was in. The servant was hesitant to cross, so Sinclair offered him his horse, while he mounted the servant's horse. Sinclair then encouraged the animal into the water and began making his way across. Suddenly he was whipped out of the saddle and swept away by the raging torrent and drowned. His wife, meanwhile, had no idea what was happening. As she went from one room to another in their Thurso home, she noticed Sinclair heading up the stairs to his own room, so she called to a servant to bring him a candle and to make up the fire. The servant brought the light quickly, but when she entered the room, it was empty. Less than an hour later, Mrs. Sinclair got the news her husband had drowned. This account came from a person who visited Thurso the following day, when the accident was the common subject of conversation. The Thurso Bridge of 1800 was designed by George Byrne of Edinburgh and built by local mason Robert Tulloch. This was at a time when Thurso itself was expanding with the new town, designed by John Sinclair of Ulster in 1798, being built next to the old borough. According to John Henderson's general view of the agriculture of the county of Caithness in 1812, the new town was planned according to the most regular plan that could be contrived, and in a way that was not only ornamental, but positively well adapted for health, well-being, and convenience of the locals. The bridge had 3 semicircular arches with oculi over the piers. In 1886, with traffic increasing, it was decided to widen the narrow bridge. This was a disaster. During the works, the central arch collapsed. The replacement bridge was redesigned with 4 arches and was formally opened on 3rd May 1887 by the Earl of Caithness. The works were carried out by engineers McBay and Gordon of Elgin, with the main contractor being John Malcolm. In total, this new bridge cost £4,000. The bridge, with its 4 pairs of cast iron lamps, remains the main bridge over the River Thurso today, and was Category B listed on 21st February 1975. If you enjoyed this episode of Scotland's History, please like, comment and subscribe. Until next time, thank you for watching.